Okay, so let's just jump right in. How in the world do you get a drink of water in a place where it almost never rains? I mean, it sounds impossible, right? But the answer? It isn't buried deep in the ground. Nope, it's actually floating all around us, in the air itself. We're going to explore the incredible science of, literally, harvesting water directly from the clouds.
So to really get this, you've got to picture one of the driest places on Earth. We're talking about spots like the Atacama Desert in Chile or the mountains in Morocco. I mean, the ground is just parched, wells are dry, rain is basically a myth. It is the very definition of water scarcity. But here's the crazy part, the paradox. Every single morning, this thick blanket of fog rolls in from the ocean. And this fog, it's literally an invisible river of pure, fresh water. Billions of tiny little droplets just floating right over the heads of people who desperately need it. It's right there, but you can't touch it.
And that's the big question, isn't it? If the water is right there, just hanging in the mist, how do you actually capture it? How do you turn that wet air into clean drinking water that actually flows from a tap? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down.
Okay, so first things first. We need to get a handle on what we're actually trying to catch here. Because it's not rain, and that single difference, well, it changes everything.
So what is fog, really? The simplest way to think about it is that it's just a cloud that's decided to hang out right at ground level. But scientifically, it's called an aerosol. And these little water droplets are unbelievably tiny. We're talking smaller than the width of a human hair. They're so light that gravity doesn't really affect them. They just get carried along for the ride by the wind. And that right there, that is the core challenge. Because these droplets just follow the airflow. They'll drift right around a bucket or a wall. You can't just sit back and wait for them to fall. You have to get in their way. You have to build something that forces them to collide with it, to gather together and finally become heavy enough to turn into real, drinkable water. So, with a tricky problem like this, where do you even start looking for answers? Well, like they so often do, engineers and scientists looked to the original expert, Mother Nature, which has had millions of years to perfect the art of fog collection. Check this out. This is the Stenocara beetle from the Namib Desert, and this little guy is a master engineer. Its back is covered with these tiny water-attracting bumps. Fog collects on the bumps, and once a droplet gets big enough, it rolls down these waxy, water-repelling valleys right into the beetle's mouth. It's a perfect little system of catching and draining, and it's the exact same principle that modern fog nets are built on.
And it's not just tiny insects. The giant redwood forests out in California are another incredible example. Think about this. Up to a third, 30%, of their entire yearly water supply comes not from rain, but from fog dripping off their needles. This proves that fog isn't just some novelty. It is a massive, life-sustaining source of water, if you just have the right tools to catch it.
All right, so we've got the inspiration from nature. How do we build our own version?
Well, creating the perfect fog-catching net is a really delicate balancing act of physics and material science. It's like trying to squeeze water out of the sky itself.
You know, success really boils down to just these three things. First, the air has to actually pass through your net, not just blow around it. Second, as it passes through, the little water droplets have to physically hit the fibers of the mesh. And third, that water you've collected needs to drip down into a gutter before the sun or the wind just makes it evaporate again. If you mess up any one of these steps, you get no water. Simple as that. So how do you balance all that? Well, engineers found what is basically a magic number. The ideal density for the mesh, what they call its shade coefficient, is about 35%. This is the absolute Goldilocks zone for catching fog. And here's exactly why that number is so important. If your net is too dense, it basically acts like a solid wall. The wind and all that precious water just goes right around it. But if the net is too loose, with big holes, the droplets just fly straight through the gaps. So that 35%, that is the perfect sweet spot to get the most collisions without blocking the wind.
And the materials themselves are getting better all the time. You know, most nets today use a standard plastic mesh, often in a double layer just to increase the surface area. But now, researchers are developing these incredible 3D fabrics that act more like a sponge, and even applying special nanocoatings that basically mimic the beetle's back for super fast drainage.
So look, the science here is fascinating, but the most important part of this whole story is what this technology actually means for people. This isn't just some cool lab experiment. For many, it is a lifeline. Just look at this number, 4 hours. Before the fog nets, this was the daily reality for women and kids in parts of Morocco. A 4-hour round trip every single day, often to get water that wasn't even clean.
Just think for a second about what that does to a community, to someone's education, to any chance of economic opportunity. And now, this is the after picture. That same community now has these massive fog nets that harvest over 6,000 liters of pure water every day, and it's piped directly into their homes. I mean, this technology didn't just give them water, it gave them back their time, their health, and it gave them a future.
And this isn't some one-off success story. Down in Chile, a small town called Chungungo was basically dying after the local mine closed. They had to truck in every drop of water. But fog nets installed on a nearby hill, they revived the entire town, providing enough water for people to drink, to grow food, and to actually rebuild their lives.
So what's next? Well, this simple, low-tech, but incredibly high-impact solution has massive potential for our planet, which seems to be getting thirstier every year.
Now, while fog nets are amazing, they are kind of limited to very specific coastal and mountain areas. So the next step is what they call active water generation. These are systems that use solar power to create their own cool surfaces, which pull humidity right out of the air even on a totally clear day. They're essentially creating their own dew, and that could bring this technology almost anywhere in the world.
But you know what's so powerful about this whole idea? It's how accessible it is. This isn't some complicated corporate-controlled utility. It's a truly democratic technology. Once that initial pretty low-cost structure is built, the water is free. It's powered by the wind and the air, not by an electrical grid.
And that really gets to the heart of this whole thing, doesn't it? Scarcity is so often just a matter of perspective. We look at a desert and think, there's no water here. But we were wrong. The water was there the whole time. We just didn't know how to look for it or how to ask for it. And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. By combining ancient observation with modern engineering, we learned how to literally squeeze water from the sky, and it just makes you wonder, what other abundant, invisible resources are floating right in front of us, just waiting for a new way of looking at things to make them visible?